All right, so now FTX accused of illegally financing Super Bowl ad. Oh, you think? But actually, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission filed a lawsuit last week and basically showed that FTX was spending a lot of their money fraudulently on things. But again, that's the whole thing. It's like, this company in 3 years reached a multi-billion-dollar valuation. And it's like they're just spending all this money left and right. Where are you getting it from? Oh, well, it turns out it was customer funds. So how much did this cost? So the Commodity Futures Trading Commission filed a lawsuit last week accusing FTX of combining its funds with Alameda Research to pay for these ads. So it was previously reported that FTX paid $6.5 million for a 30-second Super Bowl ad spot. And FTX struck a 19-year, $135 million deal with Miami-Dade County in 2021 for the arena's naming rights. Well, obviously, we know that there's no point in having that arena named FTX for a company that's one of the biggest frauds in modern times. So, they're going to have to go digging for that money. And actually, the next story that we're going to talk about is some of the funds that the Bankruptcy CEO and everybody who's really looking through FTX's records and accounting, they're finding some money here and there to hopefully give it back to as many people as they can. But as we know, people are going to end up getting pennies on the dollar back, if anything whatsoever. But again, this is just more money, that has to be collected and stuff like that. So, but another issue is one of the FTX executives, because we talked about how, we know how Sam Bankman-Fried, his family, and other executives bought hundreds of millions of dollars worth of property in the Bahamas, but they also used that money to buy property and assets elsewhere. So an FTX exec bought $6 million of real estate and restaurants in a small Massachusetts town. And the crypto giant's collapse obviously has the town worried. It's a small town worried about, the economic health of what's going on. So Ryan Salame, a co-CEO of FTX, reportedly bought $6 million of restaurant and real estate in Lenox, Massachusetts. And again, with all this bankruptcy going up, you're purchasing these properties with ill-gotten gains. You're going to have some issues. So there's 5,000 residents in this town. And it says that it says about half. Hold on, let me get these numbers right before I go over this again. Hold on, give me one sec. All right, so again, Lenox, Massachusetts, city with just 5,000 residents. Salame, what's his name? This guy's name is Ryan Salame. He's a co-CEO of FTX. He ended up purchasing $6 million worth of property and real estate in Lenox, Massachusetts. But now that they went bankrupt and they're having all these issues, him owning half of the property in that town, everything's going up. So FTX has since filed for bankruptcy, and its founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, was arrested last week, as we know. So Salame, who we're talking about now, he received a $55 million loan from Alameda Research and donated $23 million, mostly to Republican political candidates. And I'll probably talk about that tomorrow to go in a little bit on who that was. But all of this is publicly available anyway, so we know that. Now, Jennifer Nacht, I hope I'm saying her last name right. Jennifer Nacht, she's the executive director of the Lenox Chamber of Commerce, and she told the Berkshire Eagle that she was concerned about what FTX's collapse means for the town. Again, somebody comes in, swoops in, buys $6 million worth of real estate and property in a town that only has 5,000 people. Half of the real estate is owned by ill-gotten gains. So that could really end up spelling economic disaster for the town of Lenox if somebody doesn't come in and purchase the same property that Ryan Salame did with that money. So again, this is the type of issues that, whether it's FTX, all the other trillion crypto exchange platforms that have collapsed, or really whenever you're dealing with fraud, when you purchase real estate or any type of assets, it could be stocks, it could be holdings and companies, whatever it is. If you purchase that with stolen money, people are going to want that money back. And so the shares get messed up. The price and the value of the real estate and the property gets messed up. And then maybe nobody wants to buy it. So all types of stuff gets messed up when people purchase assets with ill-gotten gains. So this FTX collapse is we're seeing the ripple effects in the economy. And again, one of those was in Lenox, Massachusetts. But they're starting to find some of the assets. $1 billion in assets was found spread around the world, and I'll go over that. But again, FTX, they lost, what was it, $8 billion of people's money. So 1 billion is quite far away from 8 billion. So again, most people just flat out aren't going to get their money back. Now, if you're somebody like what's her name, what's Mr. Wonderful's name? I can't for what Kevin O'Leary. If you're someone like Kevin O'Leary, who's already worth $100+ million easily, then this fallout really isn't that big of a deal to you, other than maybe a hit on your reputation. But if you're somebody who maybe put all of your, life savings into FTX and you lost everything, and you not getting your money back, that could ruin the rest of your life. That could totally shift plans. Maybe you had kids that you were going to send to certain programs, and now you can't. This is the real life fallout issues that we're dealing with. So FTX's new management, it says they've identified more than $1 billion in assets as they struggle to unwind the firm due to poor records and bookkeeping. And as we remember, basically there was no accounting and no real record keeping at FTX whatsoever. So they don't even really have much to go off of. So FTX executives told its creditors that they discovered about $720 million in unconsolidated cash assets in certain U.S. financial institutions. And it says that adding that U.S. institutions are holding another near $500 million. They're reaching out to those banks to see, again, if they can get that money back to give it to, return it to as many customers as possible. FTX also found $130 million of cash locked up in Japan, and another $6 million is being kept for operational expenses. And other than that, they're struggling to find any more cash assets. Exactly, a Gen Z, apparently so. Apparently so. Well, no, he my generation. He a Gen Y. He my age. Sam Bankman-Fried is my age. You know what I'm saying? I'm 30. Sam Bankman-Fried, I'm pretty sure he's 30. Which again is why a lot of one of the biggest issues that he had with raising funds for his hedge fund, because FTX was just a front to funnel money into Alameda Research. It's going to be pretty difficult to raise funds for a hedge fund if you're in your late 20s, early 30s. I don't care who you are. People who run hedge funds typically have decades of experience in finance, because you're making risky bets. I'm not going to give you money to a kid, basically, to make risky bets. So he created the FTX front. But yeah, I mean, this guy, it was just completely sloppy. But I guess it's good that they found some of that money. But again, $1 billion is far off from 8 billion. They got a long way to go, but they ain't gonna get the money, And again, we just talked a little bit about how that money was spent on property here, assets there. They're gonna have to get that money back. Like, it's just a giant mess. And it really sucks again for that small town, for that Lenox, Massachusetts, of 5,000 people, where half the real estate was purchased with FTX money. That really could screw the town.